Hi everyone, Unime is here. It's officially week 5 of my self-study journey and I'm back with another progress update. If you missed any of the previous week updates, I'll link them down in the description and here on top so you can reference it later, but don't worry, I'll remind you at the end of the video to watch it. This week I continued studying Japanese, college algebra and computer science, but I added another challenge, which is the preparation for the Microsoft Azure Security Engineer exam, which I'm planning to take next month. As always, I'll break down each subject first. After that, I'll share with you the books that I read. And finally, I will reveal my progress and the fitness goals also. If you're also on a learning journey, let me know in the comments what is the hardest thing that you're currently studying. Alright, let's get to the first subject, which was Japanese. For Japanese, I'm still using this book right here, which is Japanese from 01 by George Trombley and Yukari Takenaka. And I'm also going through the videos that the author made on YouTube. I'll leave the links for the book and for the videos down in the description. This week I completed the lesson 5, which was liking and disliking. So I learned how to say suki, daisuki, kirai, and daikirai. And I also learned how to make words or phrases negative using janai. I also learned 5 new hiragana, which are na, ni, nu, ne, and no. And I also learned around 25 new words. To supplement my learning, I added Duolingo in the mix. It is just for when I have time or I don't know what to do, but still the main source for the learning are the books and the videos. The biggest challenge this week was by far reading, because now I know almost all of the hiragana in the book. All of the exercises in the book are now almost exclusively in hiragana, and that makes reading really hard, like I'm learning to read all over again, but with practice I will improve. And in total, I spent 6 hours this week studying Japanese. Next week, the plan is to go through the lesson 6, which is wanting and not wanting. Probably there will be some new hiragana and some new words to remember. But before that, I will go through everything once again to keep the old words and the old hiragana fresh. For CS, I am going through the CS50's Introduction to Computer Science, and I finished week 5, which is data structures. And this week was the hardest by far because it combined everything that I learned in the previous 4 weeks and made it harder because it introduced linked lists, it introduced binary search trees and hash tables. Also, I didn't find these 3 particularly interesting, so this is why it made the subject this week much more harder. In total, I spent 4 hours studying computer science this week, and next week is week 6 of the CS50's Introduction to Computer Science, which is finally and thankfully Python, and I'm getting a rest from C, but probably the old problem sets that were in C I will now need to write in Python, so we will see how that will go. For college algebra, I'm still using this enormous book by Blitzer, and if you're interested, I'll leave the link down in the description for the book. Last week, I finished the Fundamentals of Algebra chapter. This week I did the review set for it, and I think I did around 112 exercises, and after that I moved on to the test for that chapter. I scored around 96%. I timed it, I didn't use any kind of extra material, so I wanted to treat it like a real test. Although academically 96% in this exam doesn't mean anything, I am still proud of myself because now I know that I mastered this chapter, or almost mastered it, and I can move on to the next chapter. After the exam, I moved on to the chapter 2, which is equalities and inequalities, and I started the first section, which is graphs and graphing utilities. It isn't that hard, it just teaches you how to write graphs or how to draw graphs, and I finished around 54 problems for it. The biggest challenge this week was self-doubt, because as I was doing the exam, I was always second guessing my answers and I was convinced on every answer that I made a mistake. I expected a score of around 40 to 50%, And when I saw the 96%, it was a huge confidence boost. In total, I spent 6 hours this week studying algebra. Next week, I'm planning on finishing section 1 because I still have some problems left, and then move on to section 2, which is linear and rational equations. Microsoft Azure Security Engineer exam prep is the new subject that I've added. I won't go too much into the details because it is not as famous as the other subjects that I'm doing. I will only keep you updated on the progress. In total, I spent 4 hours this week studying from the exam reference book. And next week, I'm planning on finishing that book and hopefully do some practice questions and then move on to the exam. That brings my total study time to 20 hours this week, and I've logged in total 92 hours since January 1st, which is a lot for me. This week I lost 0.3 kilograms, and in total that is 5.3 kilos since the start of the year. I also fasted for 97 hours, which in total is 614 hours since the start of the year. Nothing to say here, I'm proud of myself for staying consistent. This week I read one book and two manga. The book that I read was Later by Stephen King. Here it is. It's a cool book. It's a short story about a boy that can see dead people and ask them questions which they need to answer truthfully. It is really predictable, so I give it 3 out of 5. And in total, I spent 3.5 hours reading this book. The two manga that I read were Tokyo Ghoul 4 and 5. I have them here. I like to collect them. A really cool read. I see why it is one of the most famous manga in existence. All in all, a lot of twists, a lot of interesting parts, and I spent 2 hours reading these two manga this week. In total, I spent 5.5 hours reading this week, which brings the total to 29 hours since the start of the year. For next week, the plan is to go through The Shining by Stephen King, and if there is time, I will go through the Tokyo Ghoul part 6 of the manga. Hopefully there will be time. If not, well, The Shining is the only thing that I will go through. And that's a wrap for week 5 of my self-study journey. If you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. If you want to see the previous weekly updates that I did, you can see the playlist down in the description. And if you want to follow me further on this self-study and improvement journey, you can hit like, you can hit subscribe, and all of the other fancy things. The next week's update is scheduled for February 17th, and if you don't see a video then, you know what that means. I failed. Thank you for watching. Continue to improve, and see you in the next one. Bye.